RandomJosh, and I'm back again with another Random Monday video. And today we're going to be talking about drag herstory. So yeah, I'm doing this video in lieu of the fact that RuPaul's Drag Race Season 9 is starting on Friday. So, like, I thought I'd do a bit of history on where drag comes from, why people do it, like where it all began, basically. Hope you enjoy. So the idea of men dressing up as women, which is what drag is all about, that all originated from the fact that back a really long time ago, obviously women didn't have as much equal rights as they do now, and one of those rights that they didn't have was the fact that they couldn't actually perform on stage. So obviously, how do you perform on stage have like a man and woman performing on stage without women performing on stage? The kind of background to that was that they actually had men dressing up as women. Simples. Where did the term drag queen come from? So obviously drag queen now means someone who does drag, but back then, who came up with this idea of a drag queen? So back in the 1870s, roughly, that was when, obviously, in the theatrical side of things, that men had to dress up as women to perform in their performances, and they have, obviously, men have different physiques, different kind of structures and builds to a woman. So to cover that, they'd wear really long dresses and skirts and stuff like that. And obviously these dresses and skirts would trail along the floor, hence the name drag. That is, like, I'm not even joking, like, that is what I researched and that is what came up. I was like, really? But apparently that is where the term drag come from, because their skirts used to drag along the floor. Now, with the queen bit, the queen bit is a little bit, like, easier to kind of get your head around. So back in the 18th century, the word queen actually was a derogatory term that was used against homosexuals, and obviously there was the kind of drag was mainly taken up in the end by gay people, so they wanted to associate it with that, hence why drag queen. Explosions going off in your head right now, I know. Some crazy ass science. Drag made its first appearance back in about the 1950s, 1960s, and by this I mean like its first proper out there kind of, you know, thing. Obviously it's been going on for years and years, like I've just been talking about, like back in the 18th century and shit like that, you know. But yeah, it made its kind of debut more or less. Like there's been people before this, but this is like the main debut. But even at this time, it was still very kind of underground. It was criminalized, so people that did it were obviously at a huge risk, because if they were found out, they would have literally, you know, I'm probably over exaggerating that, but like it was a serious crime back then, which is so stupid now, because like you look at it and you're just like, what's the issue? But obviously back then, different mindsets, different times, you know, we can't really say anything on that. And about around the late 60s, I believe it was, is when the LGBT community actually started really fighting back and becoming a lot more, I don't want to say powerful, but a lot more people were actually feeling a bit more comfortable to actually like come out and be like honest with themselves. So that was when they all started kind of powering back at the people who'd oppressed them. So as the years moved on, the LGBT community has obviously been growing. It's been becoming more and more accepted within the world. Obviously we're still growing and we're still becoming accepted, because there are still places in the world that will not accept it, and we're working on that. We can't obviously please everyone. Everyone's got their own opinions, everyone's different, you know, it's one of those things. We can actually see some of the really famous drag queens of today. Like, we've got, of course, the absolute queen, RuPaul. I'm sure, like, most of you, even if you're not, like, into drag, or, you know, you're not gay enough to watch drag, even those straight people watch it. Like, my head of sixth form admitted to watching RuPaul's Drag Race, but we're going to talk about that later. So yeah, RuPaul is one of the biggest queens at the moment. RuPaul's journey as a drag queen actually started around the early 90s, roughly. Obviously, he can tell you more than I can, but I'm just saying what I've researched and found. But yeah, so he or she, because RuPaul actually doesn't care what pronouns you use on him or her. So if you kind of are like, oh my god, what if she gets offended, he's cool with that shit. But yeah, so RuPaul was growing and growing and becoming this amazing and beautiful queen, as you can see. And then in 2009, he actually started a show called RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, obviously, a lot of people now know about this show, but like, it's just really become so famous now. Like, so many people know it, and it's helped a lot of like younger drag queens, or like just drag queens that are kind of trying to get big but are having that little bit of a issue. And you know, it's one of those shows that actually helps you. It's weird, like, I watch it now. I never used to watch it, but I watch it now, and I'm like, you can kind of see a lot of like different things going on, and you're like, yeah, I can understand you now. So Drag Race has actually seen a lot of famous names that most of us actually know and love, whether you knew them before they were on Drag Race or after they were on Drag Race, because they've gained a lot of popularity and fame from being on Drag Race. And they are, I'm gonna have to read them out because I made a list. I'm not obviously naming all of them, but you know. So we've got Alaska Thunderfuck, Bianca Del Rio, Alyssa Edwards, Violet Chachki, Jiggly, Ginger Minj, Kimchi, and so many more. Like, there are loads of them. I could name so many more, but I was like, I need to be kind of short with that because otherwise I would keep going on. Now obviously we can talk about like how drag queens are now, but there were like a lot of drag queens before it was even accepted. I'll talk about one in particular that I actually felt kind of touched by. So in 1928 there was two guys called the Rocky Twins. They also were known as the Dolly Sisters, and they actually made their debut performance in Paris at this time. So 1928, that was when they made their debut performance, and they just got really big. I'm going to show a picture of them, but yeah, they got really big. Obviously this is a time where they weren't accepted, they weren't, you know, people that were supporting them, but they still did it, and they actually got really famous from it. So they actually starred in a film called L'Argent, not L'Argent, but L'Argent, because it is French. Obviously I'm not French, I can't speak, well, I technically could speak a bit of French, but ignore that bit. Now obviously being able to star in a film back then, being a drag queen and starring in a film, that is a huge accomplishment for like the drag culture, and how much, and I mean like seeing how much we've grown now to having TV shows and being just recognised as normal. It's really inspiring actually. Like, you don't always have to watch it to take actual big like doing drag, it's the ideas behind it. It's becoming someone better, becoming a more positive person, because a lot of people, that's why they do drag, is so that they can, like, I know for example Kimchi, he as himself is very kind of closed off and shy, but in his drag, oh my god, he's like so powerful, and oh my god, I just love looking at like the drag that he can actually create. It's amazing, really, really amazing. But that's the kind of thing that you can pick out from it, is learning the way that you yourself can actually become this different person, become a confident, radiant person, you know. That is what Drag Race is all about, and that's what drag in general is all about. Now anyway, I'm gonna stop there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, you know, let me know. And I hope you all enjoy season 9. I'm so looking forward to it. It's looking really good. Like, the lineup just looks so colourful and vibrant, and I love colour. But I will see you in the next video. Peace out, bitches.